And we see here, there is a wild Big Nick the Great working on his masterpiece with a random keyboard, doing things, and I have no idea what he is doing. Is up, guys. This is Big Nick the Great.
In the house. So, for this time, part 2 of the intake manifold and exhaust manifold installation. Ready, set, go.
Yeet.
So look it. Here's the exhaust. All done. I guess the only thing I have left to do is I have to make an exhaust hanger somewhere in the middle to hold it up, but turned out pretty good. These nice Lowe's conduit bends sure came in handy. I tell you what, this is the cheapest exhaust you could ever make. Promise. You can get all this stuff from Lowe's or Home Depot. I know it's not race car material or race car grade, but it is good enough for the girls I go out with. Welds aren't terrible, not great either. I did a better job fitting them up this time. Tried to take my time and really get everything where it needed to be. And even went as far as to make a nice flange so I can bolt and unbolt it whenever I need to. So, next on the agenda, I don't know, but one of few things that could be next on the agenda. Those carburetors are heavy as hell, and with how thin this metal is, I should have bought thicker metal to begin with. I'm going to make a little brace that goes from these two head bolts and connects to these two outer flange bolts for the carburetors to give a little extra support. It's going to look weird. I like the clean look how it looks right now, but that's soon going to change, unfortunately. Whatever. So here's another goofy thing I'm going to have to deal with. There are two vacuum lines, or I'm sorry, there's a vacuum line right here, and there's a heat tube line that I'm going to have to make for both carburetors. This heat tube line, what it does, it comes off the one exhaust port. There's no actual air connection from the exhaust port, but what it does, it heats up whatever air is inside this little pocket, and the hot air goes up into the choke side of the carburetor, and whenever the engine warms up, it opens up the choke. So I'm going to need to make two of these heat tubes, one for each carburetor, obviously. This will be an easy fix, again, because this thing is incredibly old school. I have vacuum operated windshield wipers, which is terrible, but I'll have to make it work. But what's nice is there's a vacuum port on each carburetor that I have use for. So the one carburetor will go to the distributor, and the other one I can use for the wiper motor. So that takes care of that pretty easily. But what's going to suck is I'm going to have to weld a little bung on top of these two inner exhaust manifold runners, so that way I have something for the heat tube things. I don't know what the fuck they're called, but that's something I have left to do. Hey, there you guys are. So let me tell you what I've been doing. So the past week and a half, it has rained and got warm and all this crazy weather, and the garage is soaking wet. Giant ass puddle back here. All my tools got covered in condensation, and the moisture was so bad, literally the camera lens would just haze over, and I literally couldn't film anything for a week. So I've got a couple things done off camera. I've got a lot of things done. Let's look at this little gem. So this intake manifold, I'm hoping this is the last iteration of it. Should be done, should be sealed up. I put some high temperature special silver paint on it, made it look okay. I don't know, not too bad if you ask me. At least with the rinky-dink tools I have laying around. And the exhaust manifold is also done. As you can see, it's wrapped in the exhaust wrap, the fiberglass wrap. I welded on these two bungs up top here for the heat riser thing, whatever you want to call them. So my manifold should be ready to put on. Now, at full disclosure, I have a shit ton worth of time into this. Probably like at least 50 hours, which for a guy that works full time and doesn't have a lot of free time, it was a lot. So I'm happy to see it done. Now I just can't wait to hear it run. I think it's finally time we start putting some parts back on this car. So I've also constructed this little bracket thing. It's a brace for the carburetors because those carburetors are cast iron and they both weigh a lot, and only used thin wall tubing on this, so I don't want this to be the leaning tower of fuel delivery. So hopefully that little steel bracket will help support the whole thing. Alright, here's this beauty with all the copper lines on. Got the two heat risers and the fuel lines. Nice shiny air cleaners on top of the freshly cleaned up carburetors. Doesn't look too bad. I also attached the throttle linkage. I'm going to have to adjust it more tomorrow. It's enough for one night. Good news, everyone. I don't know how long if I'm gonna get a good shot of this. It doesn't like to idle long, but I may or may not have got my car running. So, take a look at this.
recording. You just... Oh, yeah?